Welcome to Talking Business. I'm Joe Catrambone, CEO of the Stuart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure today to have one of our trustee members, Rosi Shepard, as our guest. And Rosi, you've got quite a diverse background. I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm just going to read this first paragraph I have in your bio, and it says, Rosi Shepard is an entrepreneur, and she is. That's not in there, I said that. A commercial real estate agent with Remax of Stuart Commercial Division, as well as the owner of Tough Roofscapes. Her career began in auto body repair with a challenge from a classmate inspired her to pursue the field, leading to top honors in Skills USA competitions and a successful early career in South Florida's top auto shops. That's quite a venture for a young lady, isn't it?
Especially back in the 90s.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was the only girl in class doing this, and it's been quite an experiment in sociology as well, and negotiations.
I'm sure. So, I always like to ask people, how did you end up in Stuart? Now, I know you're from the Midwest. Where?
Well, I'm born and raised in Fort Lauderdale area,
okay.
Plantation to be exact.
Okay.
And I happened upon the Midwest. I was, working at a shop in Pompano Beach, and it was a race and rod shop. It was a lot of fun. We did all sorts of custom mods, and I was 21 years old, and I jumped in my 1988 Hyundai Excel fearlessly and took off to go see my grandpa in Detroit, Michigan. And on the way back, I stopped in to see a friend, and he said, Grandma Gracie's house across the street is for rent, and this is out in the middle of nothing and nowhere in Pinckneyville, Illinois, on a farm. And I said, well, Jimmy, how much is it? And he said, $200 a month. And at that time, I was single, I was young and fearless. And I thought, well, I have all my tools. It'll be no problem to get a job. And boy, was that a lesson in life, because I assumed that just because I had the experience, they would hire me. And I quickly learned that it wasn't just that experience. You've got to know somebody. And I just kept going door to door. I had all my tools. I was, I had great references. I had great experience. But that help wanted sign in the front window quickly turned into, oh, we should have took that sign down a week ago. But eventually I met the right woman at a shop there, and she was at the front desk, and I'd imagine she was tired of sitting there at the front desk. And she marched out to that shop, Sue Shute at 204 Auto Body, marched out to that shop and told her husband, Lonnie, you're going to hire this woman. So they hired me and gave me my start, and I was able to work in shops up there, and then eventually I managed the body shop for Vic Koenig Chevrolet, and was volunteering at the time at Pyramid State Park for the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, just for fun. I've always volunteered, and they said to me, would you like a job? And here I'm making a really good salary, with commission on the shop. And I thought, gosh, that'd be a lot more fun. So that's what I did. I quit the body shop, and I had been painting dump trucks and vehicles for the state of Illinois. And then I learned how to operate heavy equipment. I would go and I did all the mowing, all the weed eating. It was 37 and a half hours a week. And I didn't have all my benefits because it was a part-time job that I had taken the risk to do. And I would work multiple jobs. So I'd go to a gas station at night and work, and a liquor store, and other people that would vacation in the area just to go hunt for their hunting camps would have me mow. So I was just constantly doing something, and I got to the point where the state was had opened up a full-time position, and I was very humbled to learn that I wasn't hired. And because I had given so much volunteering, taking the time, but I was told if you would only campaign for Rod Blagojevich.
Oh, gosh.
So
Politics always comes into
back to Florida I came because it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And I got a job. I was hired by Florida Department of Environmental Protection as a park ranger at Collier Seminole State Park. And I have been, I've been here back to Florida since 2003 and did not only Collier Seminole, but then moved over to Pakahatchee Strand. And I had, along the way, became a certified burn manager. And that was so much fun.
So I read. So explain that. I'm assuming you went into areas that needed to be brush needed to be burned out, and
Absolutely.
you plotted out the area and
Yeah, so
then-
there are several reasons why we burn in Florida. One is for wildfire prevention. The other is for silviculture, like planted pines, for the growth. We do it to sometimes kill pines, depending on the temperature, wildlife. And so, depending on the time of year and, how we plan to execute that burn, how hot we want it, everything goes along with the plan. So I had been trained. I had, a wonderful crew, and we did burning all over Collier County, and then Pakahatchee Strand. That was 80,000 acres. And, that was a really neat place to be. I lived alone out in the Everglades in a trailer out there, and it was quite the experience.
I imagine it was.
Yes. I love being in town now. I don't think I could ever live
Over
like
down the
that
corner,
again.
get a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I I look back fondly and I smile, and I really enjoy that time that I had. But, I really learned a whole lot. And, especially when it comes to the Everglades Management Plan, we did well testing and levels and water levels, and learned more about hydrology and our, endangered species that we had in flora and fauna, and just full disclosure, I'm a high school dropout. So immersing myself into, and I did get my GED, but immersing myself into my work has always been something that has served me well. And I've just always enjoyed, I've never worked a day in my life. Even to this day, I feel like it's always such a great opportunity to serve and learn and grow. And so, when I was in the Everglades, I really did fall in love with the burning side. I learned how to operate a 1976 Galleon road grader. And I would grade 13 miles of Jane's Scenic Drive. It was really quite the experience. We had swamp buggies for our tools, and drip torches and all sorts of great stuff, but also plenty of mosquitoes.
Oh yeah, the
that-
Everglades especially. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That was,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Did you ever have what kind of encounters? Did you ever have any encounters with animals in the
all the time.
Everglades? What?
So everything from, we led guided swamp walks to go see the ghost orchid out in Pakahatchee, and one of the greatest places and most beautiful, serene places to be in the world, in my personal opinion, is the Everglades. And though it's
It is
full
a fascinating place.
full of of wildlife, but the alligators don't want anything to do with you in the remote spots. Now, you wouldn't catch me jumping into and swimming in Lake Okeechobee, nor would you catch me swimming across a canal or, the ditches and those kind of places are the most dangerous for alligators. But, on the, in stoneclaw season, to make extra money, this poor park ranger would go and stack traps. So I'd get on a stoneclaw boat and go out 75 miles out into the Gulf of Mexico out of Everglades City. And, quite the experience, a lot of fun stories. As far as wildlife goes out there, the 10,000 islands and Naples and Collier County as a whole is just such an amazing sanctuary. And to have so much contiguous land between Everglades National Park and, Big Cypress and Collier Seminole and Fakahatchee Strand and Panther Refuge and it's just the panthers, they're out there. The black bears are unbelievable. Did I ever get into a compromising situation with them? No. Because in the wild, in remote areas. Now, the one thing that had started to change and grow that was really a threat was that python threat. And, when we would do a burn, I would go onto the side of the road and take the weather, or, because you have to constantly monitor your weather. And I'll never forget, I was sitting on 41, sitting on the four-wheeler, taking the weather with my sling psychrometer to, get everything I needed to do. And I look over, and there's these two gentlemen that jump out of the car, and that's parked on Tamiami Trail. And they run over to the wood line. And then I see what they have in their hands, and it's about a 16-foot python. And it took all those men had to carry it to their car and stuff it in a duffel bag. And it really was something else. I rode my four-wheeler over there, and I said, "What are you doing?" They said, "Well, we have a pet store, and we breed these." So, okay, go ahead, take
They're
it.
just out harvesting them, huh?
They're the ones making more of them, but for the people to release. But yeah, what a amazing experience it was. And I moved back over here just because my mom had this little trailer over in Holiday Out, and at that time, I guess I got to that point where I did not want to be so remote anymore. I said, that's it. I'm going to go back to Illinois.
Back to civilization.
I'm going to go back to Illinois, and I'm going to go work for a
God.
coal mine, because now I know how to operate heavy equipment. And my mom calls me and she goes, "Oh no, Rosie, no, you're not doing this. Why don't you go to the trailer and go stay for a little while and, just, think about what you're doing. And, don't you think it's time to settle down and have some babies?"
How old were you?
Oh gosh, I was probably about 28 at this point, 29.
She wanted grandbabies.
She
huh?
wanted grandbabies, and I'm, I'm the oldest of 5. And I said, "Okay, Mom, I'll go over there. I'll take a break." So I go, and I get a call from Randy Phillips, who used to be with the Martin County Parks and Recreation. And he goes, "Rosie, I've been emailing you, and it keeps kicking back. What's going on? Are you not with the state anymore?" And I said, "Funny thing, Randy, I'm over in Hutchinson Island, and I'm leaving the Park Service." And, he goes, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Lucky me, I have a job opening." And so
Is that how you got into burning?
I'd already been burning.
Oh.
I had been, certified burn manager since 2003 is when I did get my certification as a certified burn manager. I've let it lapse since. I haven't had a need for it. I could probably find a need for it, but Randy offered me interviewing spots for the Parks Department with Martin County, and I jumped on it. I worked for the countywide crew for a little bit and did construction projects for them and really enjoyed it. But that pay wasn't there. I couldn't, sustain myself on it. So I had went over to the Division of Forestry, and I worked out of the Palm City Forestry Station and operated a dozer for them uh, until about, I guess, 2012. Um, no, maybe like 2010, actually.
Did you know any other lady dozer operators?
I sure do.
Really?
I sure do. Amanda, she owns Stuart Pest. She's here in Martin County, Amanda Mahorick. She actually worked out of that station, and she's awesome. Mara Manlove at the time was out of Sebring, and so it was nice not to be the only girl. Probably for the one time in my life, it was nice. I was finally not the only girl doing something, and I really enjoyed that. Um,
I was, I'll tell you, I'm sure you know, who does a lot of burning is U.S. Sugar.
oh yes.
And I was out there for one of their burns, and it was amazing how the preparations to make sure there's no livestock or
Oh yes.
wildlife in the patches that they were burning, and then they control that burn where they're just burning off weeds and not hurting the corn.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
it's amazing. It's a science, obviously.
It really is, and it takes a
The,
lot of
the, the,
preparation.
the thing that impressed me the most was the sound, the roar
Hmm.
of the flames
Oh yes.
burning. It was like it was ear shattering. I was
It really can be.
yeah, yeah, and I was standing like from as
Yeah.
close as we could get to it. It seems like it was from here. We
Hmm.
started out from here to that wall, but then they backed us up. But it was really interesting. I enjoyed that. Have you ever been on your sugar tour?
No, I haven't.
Oh, if
I
they,
I've missed
we
out
get
on
every once in a
those.
while we
Hmm.
offer them, watch for them.
Oh
Yeah, and we
yes.
have a bus comes to the chamber and picks people up, and it's a day. You know,
Oh yes.
we go out and leave in the morning and don't get back until 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But it's a it's put on by U.S. Sugar, and they're so diversified. People think they just grow sugar. They grow everything.
You bet they do.
Oh, they are unbelievable. They're just a wonderful company. I really enjoy knowing them, and seeing their operation was phenomenal.
I have to agree with you. So many people don't understand that it's not just the guys of sugar, the agricultural operations that are going on out there and putting the food on the tables here. We are a major producer of a lot of agriculture, and it's not just sugar fields out there. And we have that opportunity to utilize that land, and it's important that they do. It keeps everything from our economy more diversified with what we're growing locally. And unfortunately, they're always the target of a
Always.
lot of negativity towards and being an environmentalist and being somebody that is very, very staunchly aware of the needs for the Everglades. You have to have that balance. You have to allow for agriculture. You have to allow for
Yeah.
silviculture and all of these different resources that we need, to sustain our civilization. And, they've come leaps and bounds on it. And, we're
There's so much science involved. People think you just farm. Well,
right.
there's so much science involved. They'll take a field that they've been growing, and I'm preaching to the choir, but for people who don't know, they
Right.
maybe be growing corn in this field for 2 to 3 years, and then they give it a rest and they grow something else there, or they let that soil recuperate and they refurbish the nutrients. And it's I was amazed because I just thought farming is farming, and probably years and years ago it was, but today with the technology, it's so scientific. Everything
Oh,
they
it
do
really
is controlled with scientific procedures in mind.
Absolutely. Crop production numbers have really increased dramatically nowadays, in the more modern farming. And that's really critical to our food supply. And, and of course, the employment and economic base. There's so many moving pieces that are associated with agriculture that so many people don't think about. and and especially how they manage it, and they do an amazing job managing it, to keep the highest production. It's fantastic.
Tell me a little bit how you do the burn thing.
Well, so when you're planning a burn, you know where your area prevailing winds. So, anywhere on the East Coast, about 3 o'clock, you hit that sea
Right.
breeze. But people don't take into consideration when you're burning over near Lake Okeechobee out in Indiantown, you get a lake breeze. And so I was on a burnout at Tampa Farm. They're one of our large egg producers here in the state, and they have have you seen their operation?
No.
It's a wonderful operation. They also have an area where, they're doing mulching, so they're taking all the waste out of the where the eggs are, what breaks and whatnot gets mixed up with mulch and creates really, really a great product to be able to take out to market. But we were out there burning, and we did a night burn, and so, we had, you know, the reason we were out there doing it at night was to keep those temperatures, down. We didn't want to burn off those pines. So if you're burning over 75 degrees, your chances of burning, killing pines is increased. And that depends on the amount of crown scorch and everything else. But when you're preparing an area, so I had a bulldozer, that was my piece of equipment, Okeechobee 56, or no, 58 and 59. That's and so we would go and we'd prepare the area, go and plow a line around it so the dirt's not going to burn, and make a clean line. But we'd also identify our anchor point, and the anchor point's really where you're working off of. There's multiple techniques that are in play when you go and you're burning. So, is your fire going to be backing? So typically you're going to back the fire in because it keeps the flames low. You're not, it's not a fast moving fire. It's burning backwards against the wind. And that really gives you a strong base and a strong anchor point. And then once you have your black line, and you're able to either, depending on what type of management tool you're using, if you're going to send a head fire to it, or depending on what you're burning. So some areas you may want to do a lot of backing fire. Keep those temperatures low, takes forever. You can't get through it really fast. It really depends on, the age of the palmetto, just so many different moving pieces. And, I burned Country Place, that little community out there in Palm
I do
City.
know it, yeah.
So we pulled permits to go, and it's a Firewise community. And anybody that is watching this, I hope you do look at firewise.org for safety tips on how to prepare your property if you're near any wildland hazards. But we did offer that we could bring in the mitigation equipment from the state, or or go and burn around the house. And some of the people took us up on it. And boy, I was sweating. There's a house in the back that has a cedar shake roof.
Oh, God.
And it
Well, you need to
backs
spark.
up to that DOT property, and at the time it was full of lygodium, and that's, if you know about exotic plants, it's very flammable, and one wrong sparked the wrong way, and my forest area supervisor, God rest his soul, Eddie Ward, he was the best. He said, "Well, Rosie, I want you to pull it under your number. You've got this under control." But I don't blame him. I didn't want to pull it under my number either, because one thing goes wrong, and But we did successfully do fuel reduction around a lot of those homes, and it was really a great opportunity.
Typically, when you do a burn, is the plan that it's self-distinguished, or do you ever have to distinguish?
Oh, you better hope it's
But
self-extinguishing.
that's the plan.
That's
the plan
always
is
the
to let
plan.
it to burn out.
But you always have, just like in
Backup.
life, contingencies. When you're planning, your contingency plan, how many, how much water do you have on site? Do you have access to hydrants? Where is your tender filling up? Where is the fire
Yeah,
department?
so you just
Where
don't go in and
is
strike a match.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'd have my dozer on site. I had a, brush truck with, 500 gallons of water, 1,000 gallons of water, depending on what unit we had. And, if we needed backup, we'd call Martin County. But that was pretty rare when we'd need to call them. Usually we'd work with the county on a wildfire. So, you know, that was the other part of my job. So, I used to run around with a little beeper and they'd page me in the middle of the night. You need to bring your transport and
Get your dozer
bulldozer.
out here.
Get your dozer out here, and oh my goodness, I look back and I'm just not as invincible today as I was.
You're not 10 feet tall and bulletproof anymore, huh?
No.
I learned that a long time ago. Rosie, this was great. We're winding down. Is there something that we missed that you might want to tell the viewers about?
I think all of my burning experiences and agricultural experiences, as well as body shop experiences, really segued
Yeah, you really
me
have diversified,
into,
very diversified background.
and I even had a cookie business that I kind of left out there in the middle, but I fell into real estate. And I have been really honored to serve my customers. I have, my background is really through everything, honestly, volunteering ever since I was a kid. 4-H and on, and that's what has put me in unique opportunities and spots where I can where I've met people, where it's led me on my path, and where I've really learned and grown. And I'm past president of the Junior League of Martin County, and I sit on the board with the CCIM East Coast District, and that's the certified commercial investment member. I'm past director of the board of Martin County Realtors of the Treasure Coast. And, all of that back experience and things that I had learned, I really feel like I bring with me when I'm serving a customer with commercial real estate. And I love what I do. Like I say, I've never worked a day in my life. And it's just always an honor to serve. And
well, congratulations.
thank you so much.
I wish we had more people like you.
Oh,
It's
well,
really
thank
nice.
you.
Thank you.
It's always an adventure. So nice
Keep up
to
the
meet
good
you.
work. Thank you.
Thank you.